Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Uncle Slam, and welcome to episode 4 of my Super Mario Maker 2 Story Mode Any% Speedrun tutorial. In this episode, I'll be talking about level 5 in Story Mode, The Mystery of the Haunted Manor. This is definitely where I would say the run starts to pick up speed, because it has plenty of speed tech in it that you might want to practice a little bit more than you would in any of the other prior 3 levels. So without further ado, here's what an ideal level 5 should look like. Now, there's a fair bit we need to unpack here. It's not too steep of a learning curve, I don't think, but there's a lot you do need to make sure you keep in mind as you go through this level. So let's just go through this bit by bit and break everything down. Right off the bat, you just want to get up to the top door as quickly as possible, nothing too special there. And then as soon as... Here's my advice for you. As soon as you see Mario and the door pop into frame there, like once the light actually shows them on screen, I would recommend you run to the right and jump immediately, because you don't want to end up hitting this this wall right here and losing a bit of momentum to the right. Because that can happen if you jump just a little too late, and it's not great. It doesn't lose you much time at all, but it is still something you might want to avoid. So moving right along, just jump over these 3 stacks of Goombuds, nothing too special here. And this is where the tech actually starts to come into play. So if you're not aware, there is a little bit of speed tech you can use in Mario Maker 2 called Yoshi Back Ton, or Ton Boosting as I like to call it, where if you're on Yoshi, and I believe this only works if you do it on the ground, at least when you start doing it on the ground. But if you extend Yoshi's ton in one direction, then immediately turn around in the opposite direction and start running, Yoshi will build up to max speed much more quickly than he otherwise would if you didn't have him extend his ton in the other direction. So in this case, we want to go to the left, right? What you would do here is you would extend Yoshi's ton while he's facing to the right, and then after you've done that, immediately start running to the left, and in this case, jump, otherwise you're just going to run into that block and not get very far. But if you do that, you should reach max speed to the left much more quickly than you otherwise would if you just ran left and didn't even bother to use Yoshi's ton at all. So that's what I try to do here. Also, one thing to keep in mind is how I personally time getting on Yoshi to save the most amount of time. I will have Mario spin jump immediately after the egg hits the ground at max height. And that should get you on relatively quickly. Now right here you'll notice that I intentionally damage abuse through this stack of Goombuds to get across a little sooner, so you don't have to eat them and eat them and eat them and eat away a little bit of time each time you do it. So instead you can just damage through them. Yoshi will start running to the left, turn around as soon as he hits that block, and then you can just jump back on him, no problem. And the invincibility frames you get from the Goombuds will make sure that Mario doesn't immediately die once he hits the Munchers. So that's nice as well. Also, this flying muncher that Mario and Yoshi are on right here, that will only fly up on cycles. So if you're just a little bit too slow, he could fall back down here and you'd have to wait another about 2 seconds, I think, before he jumps back up here. And Yoshi has enough, or little enough height that he can jump over here and get back into the door. So just try not to take the section on the right too slowly, otherwise that could be a problem for you. And once we're out of here, this is where you definitely want a ton boost, so you can see, as soon as I saw Yoshi pop into frame, you can see that Mario is already prepared to make him extend his ton due to his fist being all ready. So what I do here is have him extend the ton and just go immediately into that door without even really thinking about it. Then what you want to do is grab that P-switch with Yoshi as soon as you get in here. And then once you've picked it up, you want to immediately let go of it and hit it. Now, once that's done, you do need to hurry up just a little bit and make a beeline for the next part of the stage. But before I actually bother making progress, typically what I'll do is I will grab all 4 of these coins and ignore these. You can grab these if you want, just bear in mind that you're going to be on a little bit stricter of a time limit then. So do that at your own risk. You don't need them. I recommend just getting these 4 over here, but you do you. And you can make that judgment for yourself once you see the rest of the level. So I'll just grab those, go back through the door, then you want to go through the bottom right door. You can hit this checkpoint if you want. I find it easier to do it. It's kind of hard to avoid it, actually. And then you'll get this vertical drop. And what you want to do next is have Yoshi jump and immediately grab this P-switch. And this is more or less why you're on a little bit of a time crunch, because you want to get through those first 2 coins right over here before the first P-switch expires. Otherwise, you'll have to hit this one, and it will kind of screw up the strategy for this room a bit. So just make sure you can get through here first. You'll see what I do is I collect these 2 coins right here as well. If you get the 4 coins from before, you won't be able to get these more likely than not. But if you do, hey, good on you. But again, you don't really need these 2 either if you really want to skip them, so it's not that huge a deal. But moving right along, you really do want to get this P-switch with Yoshi. And once you do, you want to go put it right there, right before that barrier. Once the P-switch you hit first deactivates, you want to put it right below that. And after that's there, and the 2 coins that are now back to being coins, i.e. these 2 right here. Once those open back up, you want to grab this 30 coin, which you can only do with Yoshi and a pretty specific set of inputs, which I'll show you right here. So what you can do here is, if you're on Yoshi, right, and you're hitting down on the D-pad or with the control stick, whichever you use, what you can do then is, in very quick succession, hit Y or X or whatever your run button is set to, and then whatever your jump button is set to, so in this case it'd be B or A for me. You want to, in the course of just a couple frames apart, it's a pretty tight window, but with practice you can get it, you want to hit Y then B while Mario is still ducked on Yoshi. And what that allows you to do is it allows Yoshi's ton to grab coins or other items that look a little bit too high to get in a situation like this. It's kind of weird how it works, but it does work, as you can see here. And this might take a little bit of practice to get the motion down, or like the exact inputs really hammered into your head. Now you might be thinking, well, okay, I do want to practice this, but I don't want to have to go through the whole level to do it every single time I want to practice the inputs. Which makes sense, because the only way to reset the 30 coin is to reset the level here. There is a solution I have for you. So as you can see, I've made a level in the Course Maker that essentially one-to-one remakes that section of the level. You have a Yoshi egg here to get Yoshi from, and then essentially the same pattern over and over again, with the same circumstances you need to recreate the trick. So if you want to practice the trick, I highly recommend just recreating this level for yourself, and continuing practicing getting the 30 coin this way over and over and over again, and eventually you'll get the muscle memory you need for the level proper. I don't have this level on the online mode because I don't think it's really worth it, and I think if people come across it randomly, they'll be like, what is this? Why does this exist? So I don't think it's really worth it. Plus, it's easy enough to make on your own, so you might as well, you know, do it yourself. Plus here I only have like 4 or 5 different setups for it, whereas you can make as many as you want in yours. So this is what I recommend doing if you want to practice the set of inputs. Now back to where we left off. This next part requires some pretty tight movement, i.e. once you hit the P-switch, you're going to be on kind of a tight timer, so your movement here really is important. So once you hit the P-switch, ideally you want to jump off of it before it disappears and start moving through the rest of the corridor. And I'll show you what that looks like again. So I want to jump off of it, head up here. You're going to grab that 10 coin basically the same way you grab the 30 coin, except this is much, much easier to do. In fact, I activate Yoshi's Ton as I jump right there, so it's a much more generous timer as well. You want to go through there. And you should have enough time to make it through that last 2 coin barrier before the P-switch disappears. Or the effects of it wear off, I mean. So once you hit the P-switch, you just want to go through normally. Then once you're on this section, you just want to extend Yoshi's Ton as you jump. That'll be a pseudo ton boost of sorts. Come up here, and this is where you probably should ton boost, otherwise you're going to have a little bit of a hard time beating the timer. It's not impossible, but it does help quite a bit. So once Yoshi and Mario are in that corner, that's when I would activate the ton boost. Turn around up here. You do want to slow down in this section right here, just so you don't bonk on this wall here and slow yourself down, because then it becomes very difficult to get through these 2 coins before the P-switch wears off. So definitely keep that in mind. Also, try not to bonk on this wall as well, because, again, the more time you lose, the harder it's going to be to beat the P-switch. So just try to keep your momentum through this whole section. That's about the trickiest part of this whole level, if you ask me. So definitely practice it, and you should get it down before too long, I'd imagine. And then right here, once you're in that corner as well, like right here, you can ton boost up here as well. You don't need to, but you can if you want to. It only saves like a fraction of a second, so it's not that worth it, but it's quite possible it'll give you just the boost you need to beat the P-switch. So you can go for it if you want, don't need to. Just wanted to point that out. Then you want to go up the blue pipe, don't worry about that P-door. And once you're through here, this is where you actually do want to get rid of Yoshi. So all 5 of those question mark blocks have coins in them. Ideally, you hit 2 of them at once. If not, as long as you hit 1, no problem. And then you want to have Yoshi fall down there, jump off before Mario dies, because that would be very detrimental if he does. Come up here, and then you should be able to hit the 5 on the finish line, if possible. What we used to do before, actually, in case you're curious, is we used to ride Yoshi up here, or if we got rid of Yoshi before for some reason, we would jump off here and try to get the 10. But in relatively recent developments, we found we get more coins and save just a little bit of time if we use the Yoshi jump strat. So that's why we do that. If that's a little too scary for you, or you really can't bear to kill Yoshi that way, you can definitely just come up here and jump the normal way. Nothing's stopping you from doing that. Now, back into the previous room, I do want to show you the backup for if you, say, can't quite make it to this point before the P-switch wears off. Because it does take a bit of practice to be able to get through here. So one thing you can do is, let's say you recognize early on that, oh, I'm not going to be able to make this. Well, you can stop, and the intended way to get through here, actually, is to, I kind of passed it there, but you'll be able to see it better here, is to go through this barrier down here, and before you get too far, before you realize, oh no, there's no way I can make this, you can go back and wait for the P-switch to wear off. Come through here, and then activate this one, and that should be plenty of time for you to get through the rest of the section and get through the blue pipe before this barrier opens back up again. So that's one thing you can do for that. Otherwise, I think it's possible, I haven't tested this myself, I will be completely transparent about that, but I think you can also wedge Yoshi in this one wide column here and eat it, possibly, and then bring it with you along to the first barrier. Activate it to make sure you have even more time. You could do that as well, probably. Again, I probably should have tested that before, but let's just assume it's possible. And that's about all I had to say about this level. Ideally, you finish this with about 85 coins, with a time of anywhere from about 455 to 458. That's about average for what you should expect. Obviously, if you need to use the backup P-switch strat, then it'll take a little bit longer, but that's not much of a big deal, realistically. And with all of that said, that concludes this episode. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in episode 5, where I talk about level 6, Underground Coin Collecting. So until then, take it easy, and peace out.